The stuff from Rome. I didn't even tell you about the stuff from Rome, the Roman Empire. This was Paul's world. The Roman Empire at the Metropolitan Museum of Art on Fifth Avenue in New York City is, we saw a celebrity, Gabe and I did. We were on a celebrity watch in New York City. We're walking around and said, we've got to find a celebrity. So we're walking on Lenox Hill. This was in the evening. Lenox Hill off of, what avenue is that off of? Shoot, I can't remember. It's in Manhattan, but my kids live in Queens. But anyway, I walked past this guy and I said, that looks like, Gabe, that looked like George Stephanopoulos. And this guy looked just like George Stephanopoulos, the ABC News guy. And I said, let's wait for him to. He was eating an ice cream cone. It was with his, looked like wife and daughter. And walked a little ways. And I said, let's wait for him to walk toward us. I said, it's got to be George Stephanopoulos. And this guy walked even closer to us. And try not to stare. I like to give celebrities their space, their respect. I expect the same of me. If George Stephanopoulos had spotted me and recognized me, I would want him to respect my time with my son. No, I'm not going to sign my book right now, George. Can't you see I'm with my kid? I don't want to bother with my adoring public right now. Thanks anyway. So I would give George the same respect. And so he came by and we're like, yeah, that's George Stephanopoulos. And sure enough, Gabe went on the internet, found out that George Stephanopoulos lives on Lenox Hill. Yeah, it's a neighborhood, district, street area in Manhattan, Upper Manhattan, I guess. So that was exciting. Big whoop, right? The Roman stuff. So there were these, what you would call, I have Judy Garland here. I know I haven't shown you a good close-up of Judy in a while, so I'm going to do that. But the Romans had their posters. There's Judy Garland. This is in her MGM days. How adorable is that? It's her MGM days. I don't know, she's 17 here, 18, I don't know. But anyway, the Romans, they had their versions of this, only it was in stone. It was in marble, and they hung them on their walls, little etchings, not paintings, but etchings on marble. And I'm thinking, the Romans, there was an ecclesia in Rome. We know this. I'm writing a series about the ecclesia at Rome. Paul wrote to these people. And I'm thinking, some of these people mentioned by Paul, I got the rainbow thing going on here. I just moved my camera. I think I'm going to keep that for the rest of the show. I got a rainbow effect happening here. Just went away. It's okay. It's nice while it lasted. Some of these people could have had this in their living rooms. And people had little statues in their living rooms, And so Paul could have seen this. Paul could have been here. There were many statues from Cyprus. We know Paul was on the island of Cyprus. I believe Barnabas was a native of Cyprus. And so these are places where they hung out. And I thought the times were tough back then, and the people who were going through these trials, like the Thessalonians of Thessalonica, they had statues too. Some of these statues could have been in their neighborhood. There were pieces of statue from public squares in different Roman cities. Do you know that today you can go to the Appian Way? It is an ancient road in Rome, and the paving stones are still there. This is the road that when Paul's ship docked in Rome, and he was escorted under guard to his new home, you can walk on that same road. Paul walked on that same road. It's just so cool. This stuff, it makes history real. Reminds me, the only thing this reminds me, the most profound thing I can think of that can even compare with seeing a piece of Babylon or seeing the name Nebuchadnezzar written on a cuneiform or whatever you call that. The only thing, in my experience, that matches this phenomenon of the ethereal becoming real, of concepts becoming realities. They're not just concepts, but let's just say a thing of faith becoming a thing that I don't believe in nothing. I believe in something. Faith, you actually believe in something. We think faith is an assurance of things which are not being observed, Hebrews 11:1, but that doesn't mean that faith is not something, that doesn't mean faith is something that is based on something that never was. It's just not being observed. So we don't believe in nothing. We believe in stuff that happened. We believe in stuff that existed. We believed in a man who was born in Ur, and here's a record of it. I think even Abraham's name was on there. I mean, Gabe and I looking at each other. That's an A-lister. Forget George Stephanopoulos. Abraham, hello? He's the demigod of 3 religions, maybe 4. I don't know. But he's a big boy. He's an A-lister. So Abraham's the man. He would be on ABC News today if he was alive. And so to see these names written, there's a stone with Pontius Pilate's name etched on it. They found it. They found it. Yeah. Pontius Pilate. So this is fantastic. So the only thing in my experience that approaches this is when, you know how you get stuck on a YouTube video sometimes? Or maybe I'll just speak for myself. I get stuck on YouTube videos sometimes. And I love Woodstock. I love the 1969 rock festival. 3 days of peace, love, and music. And I got stuck on the Jefferson Airplane. And I got stuck on Grace Slick. I went through a Grace Slick thing. Don't listen to this, Judy. You're number one. Don't worry. And I was watching Somebody to Love. Don't you want somebody to love? Yes. And I was watching this over and over again. And, when you're watching something, it doesn't seem real. And Grace Slick was just so cool. The whole band was cool. And it's a crazy time. So anyway, a few weeks later, I watched this video over and over again. It made me happy. Every day I would watch it. Got to get my 15 minutes of the airplane in. I watched the same thing over and over again. It made me feel good. I don't know why. Comforted me. So I'm at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with my son Gabe again. Gabe and I, we go through things together here. And it was in Cleveland, Ohio. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is still there, my favorite museum. But now the Metropolitan Museum of Art is right up there. It's a toss-up now. What do I... Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Babylon. Oh, not to mention, at the Museum of Art, paintings by Picasso, Cézanne, Rembrandt, Monet, Manet. I mean, it's all there. Fantastic. Right there, too. I mean, it's not behind glass or anything. The Mona Lisa, that's behind glass in Paris. It's a very small painting. Mona Lisa, about this big. Looks like a postage stamp. Not quite. So Gabe and I are at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I get to the exhibit of the Summer of Love, 1967, that era, even though Woodstock was in 69. And there before me was a white leather vest with like Daniel Boone fringes hanging off of it. And this is the vest worn by Grace Slick of the Jefferson Airplane at Woodstock. And I've seen this thing many, many times watching it in the video. But now it's actually right in front of me. This vest, it just was a mind blower. It really stopped me short. I was in a bit of a state of a shock. I just stared at it because it brought something that was real but not real, and it was now concrete right in front of me. I compare the white leather fringed vest that Grace Slick of Jefferson Airplane wore at Woodstock. I compared that to the mosaic of Babylon, because I've read about Babylon in the Bible. We've been talking about Babylon for weeks here. Yeah, Zender, please move on from Babylon. No, I'm not going to move on from Babylon. I'm not finished with Babylon. If Judy told me to move on from Babylon, I might do it, but I'm sorry. You don't have as much influence on me as my muse over here. So it's an amazing grounding. It's great to happy are those who have not seen and yet believe, and we've already been there. We're there. We still believe it. We believe it. But now that you believe it, go ahead and see it. Go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And if you like Woodstock, go to Cleveland, Ohio, and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, I'm going to read you some stuff this is humorous. I told you I was going to entertain you yesterday. I didn't get to it. I'm going to be talking about the Jews again, sorry. But now this is Knock. A. Enoch wrote this book in the 30s. This is why this is so funny. You realize he thought things were bad then. And we're like 80 years down the road from that. It's crazy now. Two things, this is on page. If you're following along with me, you can download this book on concordant.org. Two things have come together in the national pastimes of the nations: Jewish control and corruption. The national pastimes of the nation. Yeah, these are our national pastimes. Our sports, videos, movies, TV. It's the national pastime. Video games. The theater was none too normal. He's writing this in the 30s. Listen to this. The theater was none too normal, but it has degenerated so that I understand a decent play is seldom considered. If one succeeds, it is held up as a remarkable example. In other words, if something good gets produced, it's an amazing example. In A.E. Knox's day, most of this stuff was crap that was produced, and he didn't have television. He had movies, going to get to that in a minute, but everything that was put on stage was crap. And it was an exception that anything was noteworthy. The movie menace. This is so funny. My nose itching like crazy. Listen to this. The movie menace has led to many censorships, but it cannot be controlled. He calls it a movie menace in 1930s. The movies, terrible back in 1930. Oh, if this man could see him today. The movie menace has led to many censorships, but it cannot be controlled. The popular music is such a feeble-minded and corrupt concoction that it dies of its own degeneracy and makes room for the next obscene hit. Oh my Lord. Oh, that sentence is so entertaining to me. Keep in mind, written in 1930 from a guy living in Los Angeles. I have to read it again. Starting with the movie menace. The movie menace has led to many censorships, but it cannot be controlled. The popular music is such a feeble-minded and corrupt concoction that it dies of its own degeneracy and makes room for the next obscene hit. And he has hit in quotation marks. For one thing, I'm having a hard time believing that the word hit existed in the 30s, but apparently so. And more money in the publisher's pockets. Nothing's changed there, sir. Even baseball is suffering from the unfair methods of Jewish gamblers who bribed the players to lose the game so that they would win large sums of money. Oh, come on, that never happens. I'm thinking of the 1911 White Sox. Oh, yeah, he would have known about that. Was it the White Sox? Yeah, the one that Field of Dreams is based on. Build it, and he will come. Yeah, that's Shoeless Joe Jackson. As the time has not yet arrived for the open manifestation of Babylon, it is not incumbent on us to prove that the Jews already control the wealth of the world and are now debauching the peoples. All we need to show is the tendency in that direction. Yet, it seems to me that this has gone so far. Yeah, you think it's gone far in 1930? All right. Anyway, it seems to me, writing from my little bubble of 1930, that this has gone so far that there is no better representation of Jewish activities possible today than that here given. The golden goblet, brimming with drugged liquor, is even now in the hands of Babylon, and the nations are quaffing with gusto of the distracting draught. They're guffing, no, they're not, they're quaffing with gusto of the distracting draught. It's distracting. This is my whole point. These things serve toward that end. To substantiate the interpretation that apostate Israel has a golden cup which intoxicates the nations, we must show that they control the finances of the world and through them provide pleasures and amusements which corrupt and debase the people. Just confirming things that I have read to you over the last couple weeks from the internet. Articles written by modern writers. And I'm confirming for you that this situation also prevailed in the 30s when Enoch wrote this book. So, beyond a shadow of a doubt, now I'm basically putting up for you the lion mosaic from Babylon. I'm showing you the concreteness of what was written by the Apostle John in the first century concerning this cup brimming with an intoxicant, with a liquor from which the nations are being made drunk, insensate, and distracted. More tomorrow.